movieweb.com.
How did you get involved with the film?
I was sent, I knew Allison Eastwood was directing a film, and that was interesting to me because I know her dad. And then I read it, and I loved it, and I loved how authentic it was. And we had a conversation, and she's smart, had a great vision for it. And it was in a very standard, agenty, boring way, but the only connection was that I knew her dad, and so she also knew of me, so I'm sure she could go and be like, is she easy to work with, or is she a bitch? And he'd be like, oh, she's pretty easy. So I'm sure that was like some behind the scenes for her.
Was there pressure working with the first-time director?
I love working with first-time out directors, and I love that this is the kind of film that she chose. There's nothing really flashy about it. It's not a druggy film. It's a great little real people, authentic film about something important. Or that affects many, many of us. And as long as they're smart, I mean, you can work with the 20th time out director and they're not smart or they're ego-y, and it's a horrible experience. But so as long as they're respectful and smart, it's a great experience.
Did you notice a similarity between the directing style of Allison and her dad?
Only the good stuff. I think the gene pool threw down great things, that it's under budget, on time, easygoing, tender.
For this character, did you draw upon any personal experiences, either from yourself or from friends, to bring in for the role?
Well, you always do. So what do you mean more specifically, like
well,
cancer?
Like that, exactly, the cancer.
Well, I was fortunate in that part of the research was to meet people, talk to people. I'd also played a woman in a film who'd had a mastectomy in another film. Women would come to set and they had mastectomies, and they would offer their stories, and they would let me see the mastectomy or touch it if I needed to. I mean, something so intimate and clinical and sharing, that there is a great community of women and men who are drawn together by tragedy, by cancer, by other tragedy. And that communion was what made this film for me resonate on a level that I didn't even expect.
And was the whole story supposed to be a tearjerker, or was it that it just happened to turn out that way?
Yeah, certainly you would never direct a film and go, I'm going to make a tearjerker. I mean, that would be so disrespectful to the intelligence of the audience even. And I hope you don't think that from watching it. It's a film that people identify with, and because of that identification, I think when you think about things in your own life, or you think, there but for the grace of God go I, then I think people are drawn to have emotional responses. Anybody can imagine what it's like to get the news in a couple days that thing you went into the doctor about is actually pretty serious and you've got 3 weeks to go. Or you can imagine what it's like to have your child die, or tonight someone's going to be hit by a drunk driver. This afternoon someone's getting the news that their kid is coming home in a body bag. Someone's getting diagnosed with cancer right now. 49 kids just died of AIDS while we were speaking. I mean, it's you can imagine it. And that tragedy of the brief moment under the stars and the earth and the moon is precious. And so maybe that resounds in us on a human level that we're not cognizant about, because with folly we pretend that we're not mortal, but our intelligence knows that we are. So they're in constant battle. And it's the unwitting recognition of that I think makes people very emotional when they watch Rails and Ties.
Yeah, and I wasn't saying that in a condescending way or trying to say that they're being manipulating of the audience, just more of, it's just kind of like the kind of reaction that one would expect from the audience, and therefore it succeeded on that level.
Can I tell you, people have a reaction to the film that is absolutely huge. If you surrender to the film and you allow yourself to have an intimate experience with it, the reaction is huge. And this is why I can say something like the earth and the stars. Our human existence knows that it's brief, and that it's beautiful, and that it's precious. Most of us know this. Mm-hmm. If you're aware, I hope you know it. And so when you see something, even it's beautiful music, why do you think people can choke up at some song? Because when you're aware of that, the beauty and preciousness of life and the fleetingness of it, you are emotional in joy and love and mourning for your life.